You're listening to the Topcast, the original podcast for growth-minded instrumental music and voice teachers since 2015, with your host, Tim Topham. Our mission at Top Music is to empower instrumental music and voice teachers to find and nurture their innate creativity so that they can teach lessons that are innovative, integrated, and inspiring, and that will have a positive, lifelong impact on their students. Join us each week as we interview teachers and creators from around the world and unpack fun and exciting ideas to maximize your teaching and studio business success. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Topcast. Great to be spending a little bit of time with you this week. And today we're meeting our May TopMusicSheets composer, Juan Cabeza, who's going to be talking about how he composes and teaches in a really pattern-based way. And as you'll hear in today's episode, Juan actually started seeking pattern-based compositions to teach his students, and the reasons why we'll dive into in today's episodes. And he couldn't really find that many, so he actually started composing them for his students himself. And lo and behold, we're lucky enough to be able to share some of them in our Top Music Sheets collection for this month. So our Top Music Sheets collections, for those of you who aren't familiar with it and might be new to the podcast, each and every month we give all of our Top Music Pro members, including those on our light $10 a month plan, a free collection of studio licensed sheet music. And this month's is from Juan. So we have composers from all over the world contributing to these. We've had lots of pretty famous people who you will have heard of and have taught the music of before, the Kevin Olsons of the world, the Carol Matzes. There's so many great composers out there who've been able to contribute, and I'm so thankful that they've been able to share their work with our members. So if you are interested in being one of those lucky people who each month get an email with some fresh, incredible music, beautifully typefaced, beautifully laid out, beautifully edited by our team, then head over to topmusicpro.com. And if you want to find out more about Top Music Sheets itself, you can actually head to topmusicsheets.com and grab a free collection. Juan Cabeza is a pianist, pedagogue, and composer. He teaches private and group piano students at his studio in Madrid, where he specializes in students in the elementary and intermediate stages of study. As a result of his research in piano pedagogy, Juan created a blog, megustelpiano.com. We'll put a link to that in the show notes because I probably just butchered the pronunciation. Here, he expresses his ideas about teaching and learning piano, providing teaching resources, and suggests interesting piano repertoire. And that's actually both in English as well as in Spanish. Juan Cabeza is the author of Piano Train Trips, Miniatures, and the 2 diversions books published by Piano Safari, some of which we're sharing in our collection. He has translated into Spanish the Piano Safari method and Create First method by Forrest Kinney. He's also created the online improvisation course, Piano Patterns in Harmony, which has been recently nominated for the Art of Piano Education Awards 2025. Welcome to the show, Juan. It's lovely to meet you.
Thank you for having me here. It's a big pleasure for me to be on your podcast. I am a long-term listener, so it's a complete honor for me to be here.
Well, thank you. And of course, we can all hear there's a strong accent. Where are you beaming in from on this Zoom call?
I am from Madrid, so I hope you can understand my English. I am going to try to do my best with my English.
We can. Your English is great, Juan. And I just wanted to say a real personal thank you so much for being this month's featured Top Music Sheets composer. As soon as I found out about your music, and you sent me some examples, I had to play through them. Sometimes they sit on my music rest up here behind me for a week. This time I was like, I've got to play these. They were great. And I just loved things like the jazz waltz. There was a bit of a hemiola kind of pattern in the C minor one and the D major piece. I just thought they were great fun to explore. And I know your collection's going to really appeal to our members. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It's an honor for me to be my pieces available for your members. I have selected some of one that I love more, and I hope you and your teachers and their students, I hope they are going to love these pieces.
Well, why don't we start by hearing one of the pieces? Would you like to play one of your favorites from this collection? And then we can talk a little bit about how you actually go about teaching some of these pieces.
Okay, I'm going to start playing the first one, the diversion number 1.
Bravo. It's beautiful. And I think I'm right in saying this is in a mode, correct?
Yes, it's in a G Mixolydian. Yes, as all of my pieces are pattern-based pieces, I have composed all of my pieces in this way because it's the better way for me to work with my students the pieces during my lessons.
Well, tell us about your approach to both composing pattern-based pieces and why do you do that and how do you go about teaching it? And feel free to demonstrate if you want to share any of the other pieces that demonstrate this.
Thank you. I love pattern-based pieces, and I was always looking for pattern-based pieces in the repertoire, and for the living composers, for dead ones in the last few centuries. So because I love working on patterns with my students, working with pattern-based pieces has for me a lot of benefits for the students. So because you can use many different strategies and ways of teaching the same piece, you can work on this piece in very different ways. You can teach a pattern-based piece by ear, or you can teach this piece by reading it, or you can teach by an explanation, or you can work with a pattern-based piece. You can work on composition, on improvisation, so you can use them in the way you think your student is going to take advantage of that piece at that moment. So you can adjust this piece for this particular student at that particular moment. So they are perfect for me. You can explore these pieces from very different angles. So because they are built, not only my pieces, but all pattern-based pieces, they are built very easily with a very clear structure. So you can understand the elements we can find in the piece. We can work with the students more easily, all these elements, and they can name all the elements in the score very easily because there are too many elements, so they can understand them, they can name them. Obviously, with whatever piece you choose in the repertoire, you can name whatever piece of theory or music. You can put a name in every single piece, but if there are some very few elements, you can understand them better. So also, you can develop creativity using these pattern-based pieces because you can change the patterns in very different ways, and the student can improvise with them, can create their own pieces with them. So this is perfect for working on creativity. You can play, or the students can play these pieces from the very beginning, from the end, from the beginning to the end. So it is going to help them to play fluently, because in 10 minutes maybe the student know how to play the whole piece from the beginning. So this is going to help them to maintain the pulse, the rhythm, because you can explore the the pieces from different angles. You are going to develop your students in a holistic way. You are going to work on a complete. You can work with your students with a complete concept of music. You are going to develop complete musicians. This approach is going to help them to have more pieces in their repertoire, so they can be able to play maybe 8 pieces at the same time, or 10 pieces, or a lot of pieces, because they understand what they are playing. And also they are going to have more confidence playing because they understand the pieces. They can create something with the pieces. So it's going to help them to play in front of an audience. So it's a good thing also to play a pattern-based piece in your students' recital. And because all of this, and a lot of benefits I am forgotten right now, but all of these are going to increase their motivation because these pieces are going to allow them to play with fluently. They are going to improvise with them. They are going to understand them. They are going to memorize them very easily.
It's about having more success rather than getting stuck with slow reading. Pattern-based pieces allow you to get over that quickly and make music.
Yes, you can make music in very different ways. If you want, I can show some with the piece I've just played. Okay, this piece is diversion 1 and is based in two hand positions. A G pentatonic scale. In left hand I play G A B, and right hand D and E. With our middle fingers fingers 2, 3, and 4 in left hand, and 2 and 3 in right hand. And then we go to the same position, but we have to move to F pentatonic scale. So you only have G pentatonic and F pentatonic scale for the whole piece. So with this, you can change whatever you want, because these are two very easily for the student, very easy positions. So you can play these 5 notes in different registers of the piano. I am playing these 5 notes as clusters in the 5 notes together, and you can explore the different highs and of the piano. You can play very low, you can play high at the keyboard, so you can explore the whole keyboard with these notes. You can also change very easily. You can change the rhythm, because the pattern-based pieces, one of the good things that they have in common, they have very easily and repeated rhythmic patterns. So you can change slightly the rhythmic pattern, and the whole piece can complete change. For example, this.
How would you change this one?
Yes, for example, this one can be played in. It's written in 12/8, but you can play it in 4/4 if you want. You can only to adjust a little bit the pattern. So maybe in 4/4 we can play it like this. And you can follow the whole piece, making this pattern. The students are going to find this very, very easy to play in 4/4, and they are going to understand better the differences between 6/8 and 4/4, or if you want to play.
They're going to feel it too, because they have to feel that sense of pulse to enable them to do that.
They are going to feel this pulse, and by playing it, it's much more important than reading. It's important also to understand by reading, but first understand the rhythm and the pulse by playing something, or by body movement or whatever. But as you say, by feeling it, it's very important. So you can also.
I was just going to say, you also suggest at the end, you actually have a suggestion for transposition exploration you can do.
Yes, you can for some of the pieces, because this is some of the benefits also I forgot to mention. These pieces are very easily to transpose, because if you understand the piece, you can very easily to play it in a different key. So some of my pieces has a transposition recommendation. So people can work with their students in the whole piece in a different tonality, in a different key. So this is a good thing. You can also change, follow the structure of the piece and change a little bit the melody. For example, we can do in the instead of going up the melody, we can do it the other way around. We can going down. play the whole piece with this melodic pattern. We only have changed the my melodic direction, and the students are going to understand very well this new melodic pattern, and they are going to be able to play this piece in a lot of different ways. So the possibilities our students play at their home are going to increase, because they know one piece they can play it in very different ways, and in each lesson they can play it in a different way as the previous week. So this is a perfect work for me and for my students.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And I hadn't thought that you could teach these by rote, because they are pattern-based. You could teach them by reading. So different students, the great thing about this collection of Top Music Sheets is you could use this for different students and teach it in completely different ways. You could even have a few different students at a recital play the same piece all differently, and just demonstrate the creativity that you can get from a simple pattern. So I really love that one, and thank you for sharing. I'd love to know a little bit more about how you came to be a composer, and I ask all our composers this same question. So I want to find out about that, but I'm really keen to know about teaching in Madrid and what it's like, apart from being quite hot, I imagine, a lot of the time. I don't know. I picture Madrid is very hot place. Maybe that's not true. I'm not sure.
It's not that true. In the summer, it's true. It's very hot in the summer. I think it's very similar to New York. I think.
Oh, right. So it gets very cold too.
It's very not that cold that New York in the winter, but it's very cold in the winter, and it's very hot in the summer. So I think it's similar to New York.
And so do you teach, so how much composing do you, and do you teach at home, or are you at a school? How does it work?
In Madrid and in Spain, the normal thing is to work for a school of music. It's not that usual to have a piano studio. I see it's very, very common on the US and in England and in Australia. I think it's the same way. But in Spain, the normal thing is to work on a school of music or in at a conservatory of music. So, but the last year I started with my own piano studio. So yeah, I teach in my piano studio, but it's not the normal thing in Spain.
Okay, all right. And composing, is that just a side hustle, as we might call it, a side gig?
I forgot to answer your question, why I started composing. When I discovered Piano Safari method and Forrest Kinney's ideas, I know you are a big fan of Forrest Kinney. Yes, I have listened to some of your podcasts with Forrest Kinney and about Forrest Kinney. Yes. So I am a big lover of Forrest Kinney's work. I am lucky because he came to Spain to translate the books with me into Spanish. So
I didn't know that.
Yes, I was with Tim here at my home for 8 days in Madrid. So I was very lucky because he was such an amazing human being and a musician. So it was a pleasure for me to have Forrest here. So because I started work with my students in the way I learned from Piano Safari and from Forrest Kinney. These are my two big influences in my teaching. And I started to see the importance of the pattern-based pieces and the pattern-based activities for all of these, for reading, for rote, for improvising, for composing, and then I started looking for patterns everywhere in the repertoire, and I started also to compose for my students. I didn't think about become a composer. I only wanted to compose some pieces for exploring different concepts. I wanted to tell my students. I want to work with them. So I needed maybe to explain my student what a perfect fifth were. So I composed a piece for them. And then it was at a students' recital where my students played some of my pieces, and their parents told me after the recital that my pieces were lovely, and why I didn't publish my work. So at the beginning I published them at my blog, and then because I love Piano Safari method and they have influenced me so much, I sent them as a thank you gift for them, and they loved the pieces and they wanted to publish them. So then my pieces are after that are available at pianosafari.com, and I was amazed because this is the method I use, and having my pieces published by this method, it's great for me. So I compose for my students. I think what should I teach to my student, and then I compose a piece using this pattern or this element I want to teach to my students.
A lot of composers do start that way. I think it's a great way to begin. It makes a lot of sense. I wonder, Juan, is it possible to hear another one of the pieces from this collection?
Yes, I can play, for example, diversion number 7. It is the second piece in the selection.
I think everyone listening can get that sense of the patterns and how they work. And I just want to mention that you used the word elements early on, and I'm a big believer in teaching students and helping them recognize the elements that make up a piece of music. And these patterns are all part of that. And I think, when I'm thinking about the sight reading that I can do, I'm a relatively good sight reader. I've done a lot of accompanying, playing for musical theatre and things. And I just instantly latch on to pattern. I can just see patterns all through. And I think any good, accomplished pianist can do that. The question is, how do we get our students to do that as well? And I think these pieces are a great way to help them understand and to show them those patterns in music.
Yes, I understand much better the patterns in music, and for reading also, with this Piano Safari approach of reading, of sight reading by intervals. So these pieces can very easily you can teach these pieces by reading, because as you said, this has very few elements or ingredients that Paul Harris
simultaneous learning.
Yes. I know you have interviewed also Paul Harris sometimes, and he called these ingredients. I love that.
Yes,
that
ingredients.
word.
Yeah.
Yes. So because you can explore these patterns without the piano, and then you can make your student to read these patterns, but previously they have worked with these patterns by ear or by body percussion, and when they read the patterns, they only have to recognize these elements. They have experimented with their bodies before, and they are going to read very, very easily. And they are going to read with understanding, and they are going to read no note by note, but understanding the whole pattern, seeing the big picture, not only note to note. And this is a very perfect way for learning to read, because this kind of way of reading is the way of reading that we use as piano professionals. We read in this way. A lot of finding patterns in music.
Yeah, and for teachers listening who don't think they already do this, you actually do. Because if you think of any Beethoven or Czerny, Clementi, any of those, they are all pattern-based pieces. The patterns are scale runs, chords, broken chords. I mean, they're all through the music, and I'm sure lots of us teach this way. I guess this is just bringing that to light and making it even more explicit that we can be even clearer that, hey, these are the building blocks of music.
Yes, all music have their own patterns, and if you understand these patterns from the beginning with the pieces our students play at their elementary level or intermediate level, they are going to find these more difficult patterns, as you say, in Beethoven's sonata or in a nocturne by Chopin very easily, and they are going to understand them better. And they are going to learn these pieces very more faster because they are going to understand the patterns. They are going to find a lot of more patterns that they can find in my pieces. But if they have this work from the very beginning, I have several of my students that have started with me doing this kind of work 8 years ago or something. And they are going playing these Beethoven sonatas, and they are memorizing better. They are reading better. They are performs these pieces better because they are used to find patterns everywhere. And I know some teachers are scared to do improvisation and this kind of composition work, and I know you also are a big lover of playing with chords and with lead sheets, and I think people are scared to use this because they think they are missing some time for performing and for reading traditional repertoire. Yes, but these things are going to help them a lot in very few years later that, and they are going to learn a more traditional. If they want to play traditional repertoire, these things are going to help them also in that approach.
Agreed. Yes, and I was just I was having a look at your collection, and I'm looking at a piece called Station 16 from Piano Train Trips. The thing that another thing that I love about the music that you've shared with us is the wide use of the piano. There's sort of crossovers, you're up an octave, you're down low, and in this one, a bit of pedal as well. Could you just play a little bit of the start of this one? Yeah, and all the high notes that you heard was Juan's left hand jumping across.
Yes, you with these pieces you can explore the whole keyboard very easily. Your students are going to use the whole keyboard and to listen to these higher notes and the lower notes. And this piece only uses 4 chords. And I wrote this piece for working 2 different right hand chord positions with the root in the bass and with the root in the high at the top of the chord. So the students are going to learn this piece very very easily, and then after that they can play it in different ways. We can, with the same 4 chords, we can play it in different ways with different rhythms and without changing any note, but only changing the rhythm. For example, they can play it like this. And with this rhythm pattern, they can play the whole piece. And you can change the pattern in the way you like, and you can play in different rhythms very easily, and they are going to understand the rhythms. They can compose their own rhythms, and they play the piece, and they are going to be more connected with the piece if the piece is theirs, and they think or they consider the piece as are created by them. This is with a little help of us, of the teachers, but they are going to be more connected with the piece and with the music. And I think that is the thing we want with our students.
Yes, absolutely. And I just delight in the fact that you've created these pieces, and here you are, the composer, saying to everybody, pull this apart, play it your own way, just use this as a starting point for exploration and imagination and improvisation. And I think that's just so good for teachers to hear. Here's a collection purpose designed to be played around with, right?
Right, and I am glad you have used these words. That's a perfect. You have mentioned that my pieces are a start point, because this is the way I conceive my pieces. They are a start point, but I don't want to be the final point to play the piece like it's written, as it's written. I want to make my pieces as a starting point to start improvising, creating, transposing, or whatever you want to do with your students, or whatever your students want to do with the pieces.
It's great. And I can see that students are going to have lots of fun as long as teachers are prepared to just, take your advice and pull them apart a little bit. I wonder if you could play a little bit of the jazz waltz. I really loved the jazz waltz. That was one of my favorites.
The jazz waltz, this is also one of my favorite pieces. I composed it for Nicola Cantan for her concept collections. And the pattern here is in the left hand is using the same three notes, or not the same three notes, but the root, the fifth, and the seventh of each chord. The left hand doesn't play anymore, except three measures. So the left hand is always the one, the fifth, and the seventh, and right hand is playing a melody.
Bravo. In fact, the left-hand pattern only changes in the last three measures, doesn't it? The shape changes.
Yes, the shape changes, but in the rest of the piece is the same shape and the same rhythm, a quarter note and a half note, always in the left hand. So the student only can read the whole piece very easily, because they only have to put attention in the note, in the root, because they know that the shape is the same throughout the whole piece.
Yes, that's right. The hand shape, the distance between the notes in the left hand never actually changes until that ending bit. The other thing that I instantly recognized was that you could do what I call a repertoire remix, or a bit of a mashup, where you can play the left hand as you've written, and this is a great one to improvise, to make up your own melody over the top of, because the pattern repeats. And we're in C major, I guess, aren't we? You're in C, yeah. So it's nice and easy for students to explore a little improv.
It's very easy to do this thing you have mentioned, to play the left hand as it's written, and also you can play the right hand as it's written and change a little bit the rhythm of our left hand. We can play the left hand by playing quarter notes, or playing eighth notes. We can play like this, for example, and it's a really little change that our students are going to be able to play very easily, and we are changing the piece and playing the way the students want to play, and this is going to be very motivating for them learning how changing very few elements, they can change the whole piece very easily, and they can, as you mentioned before, they can create their own melody, because the left hand is very easy for them to learn. So they can put all their attention on creating a new melody. So this is going to be perfect for them for composing and for improvising.
And I think it's one of the simplest ways for teachers who are a little bit hesitant to get into improvising is to take what's already here, the repertoire, so a student can learn this piece as written, and then just make some adjustments to it. And that's improvising, that's creative, and it's a great way to jump in the deep end without feeling like you're going to drown.
Yes, I think these pieces are going to help also teachers that don't improvise and don't compose, and they don't think they can, but everybody can improvise, can compose. You only need to change a very few thing, a very little element in the music, and you are creating your own music. So teachers can also learn how to improvise with these pieces, with my pattern-based pieces and other people's pattern-based pieces. It's very easy to improvise, and I always recommend all teachers that they say that they can't improvise, they can't compose. That I always, and they are afraid to teach improvisation to their students because they don't know how to improvise. But you don't have to be an expert improvising and composing to teach these skills to our students. You only need very few elements to know, and you can teach. I have learned. I wasn't an improviser 10 years ago. I have learned to improvise as the same pace as my students, and now I can improvise in very different ways, and my student also can improvise in very different ways, and we have learned together, and it's okay. I started teaching improvisation without knowing how to improvise. So I recommend people people afraid to teach improvisation. I recommend make this kind of work, pattern-based pieces, and also to explore Create First by Forrest Kinney, because you can make beautiful improvisations from the very beginning using very few elements, and they are great for improvising.
Well, look, we'll need to start wrapping up our conversation. I did want to ask, there may be other teachers like you 10 years ago listening to this now who are just starting to compose music for their students to solve problems and to give them some new experiences. What would you say to them? Because we're always looking for new composers as well. How did you find the process of putting together this collection?
I love collaborate with you all. You are a great team. I have written to some of you, to Georgina, Rachel, Tim's, Albert, I think I don't forget, and with you, obviously, and all of you are professionals at a very high level in different aspects of music. And for example, with Albert, that is the publisher, the editor, I think it's the name, and he's great. He proposed so many ideas for improving the piece, not the pieces, but how the pieces are written in the score. I have learned a lot with Albert and with everyone else, because I have had an interview with Rachel, with you, and also with Georgina. I've written interview for your members,
for the magazine. Yes, yeah,
for the magazine. Yes, so it's a great experience for me to work with you all, because you are sort of big professionals that I have learned a lot working with you. So I am very pleased. So I recommend all composers to do this, because I think it's the best way. I believe that if we collaborate with each other in different fields, we we are going to improve our life, our knowledge, and this is great. So for me, it has been a big opportunity to work with you and with your team.
Thanks, Juan. And I'm especially thankful because you came in and you worked pretty quickly. Often we have months lead time, but we had someone pull out, unfortunately, and you were able to jump in. So I really do thank you so much for being able to contribute. And I'm so glad that you got and you learnt so much from it. Albert is an incredible engraver and editor. He is one of the best in the world, literally. So I'm delighted that he was able to pass on some thoughts and ideas for you. So I would love for teachers listening to grab this copy. If you are unsure about how to do that, it's one of our many member benefits. And we actually provide this to our members on our Lite plan. It's just $10 a month. Absolute bargain for collections like this in your inbox each and every month. Studio licensed. And for a collection like Juan's, it's obviously going to be incredibly flexible. You can use this for students at all stages and ages. Teach it by rote, use it for sight reading, use it for composing, improvising. It's going to be great in the future. So thank you again. Where can listeners go to find out more about you and find more of your music?
Thank you for your words. I have a blog where I share my piano ideas for lessons, and in my blog you can find also I have a piano improvisation course, an online course. You can find that at my blog, and if you want my books, you can go to pianosafari.com. And you can find my books published there, and I think you can buy these books around the world. My blog, I forgot to mention, is megustaelpiano.com. Is like I love the piano.com in Spanish, obviously. But my blog is in Spanish and in English. So I have some of my posts are in English. So if you're an English speaker, you can find a lot of posts, not only about my work, but about other people's work, because I learned so much from very different people. So I want to also to share these things I have learned from other teachers. I want to share with my readers. So you can find my ideas, but you can find other people's ideas in my blog, because I think if I learn from other people, I want also to share these learnings I have done with other people. I want to share with other teachers in the world.
Great. It's how I started blogging as well, just sharing the love around. So thanks, Juan. We will put links to your blog in our show notes for today's episode. And thank you so much again for contributing and being on the show today. It's been wonderful.
Thank you for me. It has been a pleasure to be chatting with you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed meeting our Top Music Sheets composer this month. Make sure you go and download your copy if you're a member. And if you're not, TopMusicSheets.com is the place to go for all the details and to grab your Lite membership if you're interested. Now, Juan actually, as I mentioned at the start, has an improvisation course, and he was on Rachel's Top Music Piano podcast just recently to talk about that. So if you want to check out his interview over on the Piano podcast, head over to episode number 62. It's all about inspiring creativity, and you're going to be able to dive in a little bit deeper into Juan and all his great resources and teaching ideas. All right, that's it for the show this week. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll speak to you again this time next week. How do you keep up to date with all the latest trends and research into music education? How do you connect with other teachers around the world and make sure your teaching stays fresh and relevant for students of all ages and stages, both now and into the future? I created our Top Music Pro membership to be the one-stop shop for music teaching resources, training, support and community, and I'd love for you to come and join us inside. With over 40 comprehensive training courses, hundreds of teaching demonstrations and lesson plans, free monthly sheet music, discounts, and all the business and pedagogy support you could ever need, Top Music Pro is the community you've been looking for. If you're ready to level up your learning from the podcast and join thousands of other teachers in our global network, head over to topmusicpro.com today. If you enjoy this show and want to hear more of our work, be sure to subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening today. For links and resources mentioned in this episode, visit us at topmusic.co/podcast or check out the show notes. I'm Tim Topham. Thank you so much for listening. Enjoy your week ahead, and I'll catch you next time.